What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video here on EMKWAN Reviews with me, EMKWAN, and welcome back to another camera comparison video. And this time we're taking a comparison between two of the hottest Android smartphones currently for 2019. I am talking about the Huawei P30 Pro, which is incidentally what I'm starting this filming on, and the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom, which is in my hand. Now, if you're new around here, welcome. Please do hit that subscribe button. And to give you a little background as to how I do my camera comparisons, essentially this entire video is going to be filmed on both of the smartphones, so the video and the photography, and then they're stitched together in a video editing software. There are no touch-ups done whatsoever. The raw footage to decide which one you think performs better when it comes to the camera comparison. Now, I will throw in my opinion every now and again, but that's depending on what I'm seeing behind the scenes, behind the essentially large viewfinder lens on the screen, but that is it. Now, we're going to start off the video filming with this Huawei P30 Pro. I'm going to talk to you about the camera comparison on both of them, and then we'll go out and about and take some shots, both in daylight and also in low light from my apartment here in Abu Dhabi. So let's start off by taking a look at what the Huawei P30 Pro has to offer. It essentially has a quad camera setup, and this is a collaboration that they've done with the Leica. So these are Leica lenses. It's been going on for a number of years now, but essentially a 40 megapixel primary camera with a 20 megapixel ultra wide. You also get an 8 megapixel telephoto with 5 times optical zoom and 10 times hybrid zoom. Now, what's interesting is that there's a non-traditional sensor. It's an RYYB sensor, and that basically allows more light to be absorbed in, and that should be evident in low light photography. On the front, we have a 32 megapixel selfie shooter. Now, if you compare that with the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom, we have a triple camera setup, a 40 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and then a 13 megapixel telephoto with 10x hybrid zoom. And on the front, we have that pop-out camera with 16 megapixels for that camera. So, front-facing camera test. As you can see side by side, the Huawei P30 Pro is on the left and the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom will be on the right. And it's a typically June afternoon here in Abu Dhabi. It's around about 5 o'clock. It was a lot hotter earlier on. And immediately, one of the things that I can tell if I move the camera around is that there is some distortion on the P30 Pro. On the Oppo Reno, there is a little distortion, but not as severe as the P30 Pro. However, the P30 Pro seems to do a much better job, see that? When it comes to the background. You know, it doesn't look as sort of washed out as what the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom is doing currently at the moment. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think throughout this video. We're going to turn the cameras to the rear-facing cameras now and go for a little jog to test out the stabilization. Okay, so this is the rear camera on both of the devices at 1x. The first thing to note is the fact that as far as the P30 Pro is concerned, this will go to ultra wide. However, on the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom, there is no ultra wide capability on the video itself, which is a little disappointing because I feel like generally, and I'll show you in the images, the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom has some incredible ultra wide images, but that's something to note when it comes to the video. This is back at 1x when it comes to the P30 Pro. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a light jog over there, and then we can compare image stabilization. So, interesting. Looks like from my screens that the P30 Pro is doing a better job with stabilization than on the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think. So as I mentioned earlier on, the P30 Pro goes all the way from wide to 1x to 5x to 10x, and then as a max it will go in video form up to 15x zoom, which is pretty cool. The Oppo Reno, on the other hand, will go from 1x to 2x to all the way through up until 10x zoom. And if you compare that with the P30 Pro in terms of video, yeah, I think the P30 Pro does a better job there with zoom than the Oppo Reno 10x zoom. Right, so this part of the test is going to check out the autofocus on both of these devices. Here are the subjects, the leaves over here, and we're gonna focus in on them. We're gonna focus away, focus back in on them, focus away, focus back in. I think a close one. Sometimes the P30 Pro seems to be doing better, and sometimes it feels like it's the Reno that's doing a better job. Let's do that one more time. I think that's quite close. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Right, now we're going to test out the photography capabilities. This is the scene that we're going to try and capture. We're going to start off with ultra wide and then go down all the way through to their maximum zoom level. This should be fun. So we're going to start off by looking at ultra-wide on both of these devices, and I think they did a very good job. You'll notice that the Oppo Reno in this shot seems a little more brighter than the P30 Pro, but you know, they both equally do a very good job. Now this is at 10x zoom. Again, both very similar, but we're starting to see more noise in the image, and that's going to be really apparent when we zoom all the way down to their maximum zoom capabilities. On the Huawei P30 Pro, it maxes out at 50 times zoom, and on the Oppo Reno 10x zoom, it will max out at 60 times zoom. And notice the amount of noise in the Oppo Reno shot. It's incidentally easier to shoot at maximum range on the Huawei P30 Pro than I found with the Oppo Reno. So something to be aware of. Now here's another shot, and I'm going to be comparing ultra-wide images for the Huawei P30 Pro. This is the subject. It's big tall towers. Notice here how the background, which is this bright blue sky, on this shot is over exaggerated. Also, the green in the trees. Compare that with the Oppo Reno. I think the Reno does a better job at close to sort of natural or normal colors and lighting than the Huawei P30 Pro. Another example is in this ultra-wide shot here. Notice again on the P30 Pro where the colored areas are on the bay and the blue water. You'll notice there it looks slightly more exaggerated than on the Oppo Reno. Again, this is down to personal preferences, and it's the way that the AI will sort of interpret the information coming through the lenses. This is the macro. Surprisingly for me, I felt the macro on the Huawei P30 Pro did a better job than the Oppo Reno, but they were very, very close here. So it's again down to personal preferences. One of the things that really surprised me was on the front-facing camera. Both of them have good front-facing camera, but spec-wise you would expect better from the Huawei P30 Pro. However, I found that both for human subjects and inanimate subjects, I preferred the look and feel on the shots produced by the Oppo Reno than on the Huawei P30 Pro. Now, nighttime shots, again, is very interesting. Both of them do an excellent job. The Huawei P30 Pro, again, you'll notice the over-saturation, over-exaggeration of the colors there, but it's actually easier to take a nighttime shot on the Oppo Reno than it is on the P30 Pro. With the P30 Pro, you have to hit the shutter, and you have to wait up to 5 seconds to get that night shot. Now, low light or nighttime video on both of these devices was a little disappointing. This is what the Huawei P30 Pro looks like. It does a goodish job. You'll notice there's a lot of noise when you start moving the camera around, and at zoom level, maximum zoom level for video, it's really very, very difficult to use this kind of footage. There's a lot of noise there, and it's very unstable in the hand as well. But if you compare that with the Oppo Reno in low light, I think, for me personally, I find that the video in low light on the Oppo Reno was actually better than what the P30 Pro produced. Again, with maximum zoom, there's still a lot of noise in the video, and it's very unstable to use. But that's what the video in low light looks like on both of these devices. I started this video recording on the P30 Pro. I'm going to end it on the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom. This has been an interesting experience testing out two of the hottest smartphones when it comes to the camera capabilities. And I know what's going to be left now. A lot of you will be asking this question, hey EMKWAN, which one is better? Well, I don't think that's the right question. I think ultimately the question that you need to ask yourself is which one is right for you? Or even better still, which of the features do you need most from your camera daily smartphone? Because if you're looking for zoom in video, well, the Oppo Reno is going to do that in a limited way when compared to the Huawei P30 Pro. But if you don't like the over-exaggerated colors and vibrancy on the P30 Pro and prefer the images and overall quality on the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom, well then that will be your answer there. I think that's, for me, one of the big things that stands out, the zoom in video, and also how the software and AI interpret, particularly in photography, the imagery and the vibrancy that they put out. The Oppo Reno 10x Zoom is much less exaggerated than the Huawei P30 Pro, but that's something that Huawei have done for a while now, so that's something to be aware of. Ultimately, it's a personal choice, but what I will say is in the end, both of these smartphones do offer great value for the camera specs that they put into their smartphones and the price point that they offer them at. Ultimately, it's your decision, but I'd love to know which one you think performs better. So take this opportunity by leaving your comment down below. And if you're new around here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit like so that you can see more videos like this as they go live. And I have a very special giveaway going up shortly on my Instagram account, so be sure to check my Instagram account out for that. That's it from me for now, here with the Oppo Reno 10x Zoom and the Huawei P30 Pro. Until next time, I'm EMKWAN. Peace and blessings.